may look like fun and games, but Egghead, seen on the Nickelodeon channel, is actually the brainchild of some serious engineering at Paradigm Entertainment. This animated kamikaze was born from the company's ability to leverage its expertise in 3D simulation and make it fly.
Paradigm started out as a company doing very high-end simulation for the defense industry, and we've been able to cascade those products down into other more general consumer markets.
Before Paradigm came along, we were really a black art 3D simulation wasn't accessible to anybody. It was too expensive. Software products were selling for $70,000 to $80,000 to solve a simulation, and the hardware was $300,000. WeWork came in and said, well, I think if we drop the price down to $5,000, we can sell thousands more.
At the core of its early success was a software product called Vega.
Our Vega product was revolutionary because it provided not only an application interface to engineers, but also provided a graphical user interface, a point-and-click environment that users could leverage off of. People that in the past haven't been able to use some of these devices or this technology because they weren't a software engineer or an engineer of any sort. And with our implementation, they can sit there and set up and visualize data, visualize scenarios without ever having to write any code. So it really opened up a whole new market for us.
Paradigm was already serving an impressive client list when the Japanese gaming giant Nintendo approached the company about creating a 3D game to launch their Nintendo 64 console system.
This was going to be new technology for the video game industry, and of course that was right up our alley. So we began working on Nintendo 64 in the summer of '94, and eventually that led to the release of our first game, which was Pilotwings 64.
When Pilotwings sold more than 1 million copies, Paradigm Entertainment spun off from its parent company, Paradigm Simulation. Today, Paradigm Entertainment is a completely autonomous company, serving publishers in the video game industry.
We've been able to capitalize and build off of our success with the Pilotwings game to where now we're actively producing 4 to 5 games at a time, most of them focused around Nintendo 64, also PC platform, and we're looking at other console systems.
Developing and maintaining strong relationships with customers is vital to Paradigm's continued growth.
When we look at building relationships with our customers, first thing we have to do is realize who our customer is. Our primary customer is our publisher.
When we first started, and you see this with many game development companies, is that they're a one publisher, one game company, and that's a very risky position to be in. What we've really focused on early on is trying to get to where we maintain a customer base of 4 to 5 publishers. We're working with Nintendo, we've worked with them in the past and continue to work with them. Working with a company called Infogrames, which is a French publisher. I think they're the 3rd or 4th largest in the world. Working with Electronic Arts, which is the largest independent publisher, and also a Japanese company called Video System. We're also working with Sega Soft of America.
Of course, Paradigm's second tier of customers is composed of the people who actually buy their games. Paradigm tracks consumer trends in the gaming and entertainment industry through a variety of sources.
The first is going to be the printed material that you can find. That'll include trade magazines, that'll include trade journals. It'll also include sales reports that you can get from sources such as Tryst, and it will also include websites. There's a lot of webzines, as they're called, and we frequently refer to those. So that's a good indication of what's going on in the industry. Second thing that's probably most important is to actually just maintain contact with the companies in the industry. The third source that we use quite frequently is actually trade shows and conventions and conferences.
Market research plays an important role in helping create games consumers will want to buy.
I think Nintendo is probably one of the superior companies in the world as far as understanding exactly what their target audience wants. If we look at Nintendo, kids, in particular young boys, from ages 8 through 14 is their primary market. They make no bones about it. If you look at other companies like Sega and Sony, their primary market is going to be older boys from age 13 up to 21. And so there's actually 2 different types of games. If you look at that based on the demographics, you'll see differences in the games because of that.
Publishers such as Nintendo gather consumer data in a number of ways.
The first way is just some pack-in surveys that they do with the game. So when you buy your game cartridge and you take it home, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to have a registration and warranty card. So they'll ask their consumers to fill that out. So they'll get their name, address, and age. So they're going to have an idea of the demographics of their buying audience for the particular genre of game, and then that'll allow them to build a database later on for monitoring the taste of their consumers. Then what they'll do is they'll typically include some sort of a buyer survey in there. Okay, how many games have you bought within the last 12 months? What types of games? Which ones are your favorite? They may even ask, do you own other systems besides a Nintendo 64, for example? Do you own a PlayStation or a PC? Another thing that's very important is how often do you play games and how much time do you spend doing that?
Focus groups are used to gather feedback about games in production.
Just like in the movie industry where they'll come up with, okay, we've got 3 different scenarios for this movie scene, they can do the same thing with the game where they'll say, okay, here's our game, and we've got 3 different basic ideas or variations of the theme. Which ones do you like best?
Test players also help Paradigm and other developers refine their products. With several best-selling games to their credit, including Formula One World Grand Prix, Paradigm has rounded an important curve.
We look for different things in the business relationships than what we had in our first one with Nintendo. Now we're a little bit more savvy as far as owning copyright or owning portions of the intellectual property. We're just smarter as far as looking for first right of refusal on sequel games.
And I think that's also more important in the current environment where we've got franchises, brand names, and sequels, which are very important to maintaining the success of video games.
We've also been able to command a bit more royalty to increase our profit base because we do have a track record.
Paradigm's track record has been built on an ability to capitalize on their greatest strength.
Technology has always been a core strength for us. That's how we distinguished ourselves initially, and that's something that we continue to try to emphasize. We have an R&D, research and development staff that we continue to try to come up with innovative technologies that we can use to help develop our products and stay on the leading edge of what's currently out in the market as far as hardware or delivery platforms.
Paradigm's efforts are paying off. The company was tapped by Sega to create Skies, a fantasy adventure that will link players via the internet.
There's angels and sprites and dragons, and so you become one of those players. There's a couple of unique things to the game. One, that your character can evolve over time, but being on the internet, the game provides a persistent world. So it basically provides a community that different people will come and play, and they have to basically conform to the rules of society over time. And the idea is that we will continue to add new content, new character types, new worlds that they can explore, new artifacts that they can discover, those types of things.
And like the enthusiasts who play their games, Paradigm is eager for new challenges. The company plans to one day release its own proprietary games.
The rewards are much higher if you do engage in self-funding the productions of your games, of your own content, your own concepts. So that's something that we're working toward. We're not there yet, but I think definitely that the vision has changed and where that is included in our goals.